So we're past all the new stuff, past our check-ins. All that's left at this point, get to the EOC, get through that. So I just wanted to start with these types of problems. They're just kind of the ones where, in some cases, you got to make equations or functions and kind of work your way through them, or just kind of work out some mental math a little bit. So this one here, a medical company sold 3,000 hospital beds this year. The number of hospital beds sold this year exceeds 2 times the number of hospital beds sold last year by more than 1,000. Which of those statements is true? Oliver? D is correct. So D is saying fewer than 1,000 were sold. So when we look at this, it's saying it's 2 times the number of hospital beds sold last year by more than 1,000. So basically, if we took last year's, I'm going to say, we'll call that X, and we're going to say 2 times last year plus 1,000, and we're going to say exceeds, so that's greater than. Is that 3,000? So if we subtract our 1,000, we got 2,000. Divide by 2, that's going to be 1,000. That 1,000 has to be greater than last year's amount. So last year's amount has to be less than 1,000. That make sense? Any questions on that one? I said just kind of thinking your way through it. Doing what makes sense. This one you're going to need the function a little more exact. So we got a city has a current population of 55,000 and is growing at a rate of 2% each year. What is the approximate predicted population after 7 years? So these types of problems do sometimes, like I said, require a specific function. Could be a linear, could be a quadratic, could be, in this case, exponential. So you can give me this one. Ed? C is correct. So we got exponential function. We know it's exponential because it's growing at a percentage. So when we have an exponential function, we start with our initial value. We're going to have our rate in the parentheses. We either add or subtract from 100%. It's growing, so we're adding to 100. We add the 2%, so that's 102. Change it to a decimal. So we got 1.02. Our exponent would be x. In this case, since we're specifically looking for the 7 years, you can just go ahead, plug in the 7. You can either do that on Desmos or on the yellow calculators. Either way works pretty quick. And it gave you like 63,177 point some stuff. And, usually those numbers round up because, can't have partial people. Any questions on that one? So again, different type of function. Got a quadratic one this time. This time we're looking for where it's reaching the height it was thrown from. How long does it take for it to reach the same height it was thrown from? Who could tell me that one? Ryder? C is incorrect. Rick? B is correct. All right, so the first thing we got to know, what height was it thrown from? 5. How do we know that? The y-intercept, our C value, is going to be the height it was thrown from. All right? So that's what we're looking for. Easiest way, probably, you put into Desmos. Desmos, you got to use X's. And then you would put a y equals 5, and you're looking for where those lines cross. Sometimes you don't get them nice and exact. Sometimes you get them pretty exact. This one was, pretty close to exact. Still a decimal, but it was a nice decimal that terminates at the 1.25. The 1.46, I think, was the 0 where it hits the ground. But since it wanted the height where it's thrown from, that's why we needed it the 5 feet off the ground. Any questions on that one? Figure out how long Barbara here was babysitting. Barbara's a pretty cheap babysitter, apparently. $2.25 an hour. I don't know if I'd trust the lady that charges only $2.25 an hour. Hours is correct. Barbara here is babysitting 8 hours. 8 hours of work for $21.50. Not the best decision on Barbara's part. So, most of y'all probably did not write the equation. If you wrote an equation, we'd have, she's got $2.25 per hour. So you'd multiply by the hours. And $3.50 for like an initial fee. And it's equaling whatever her total amount is, in this case, the $21.50. And you could basically solve it that way. Most of y'all just started with your total amount, subtracted 50. That got you to, the $18, and then you divided by the 20, or not 20, by the 225, and that gave you your 8 hours. Right? Any questions on that one? Sometimes, there are fairly easy things like that you have to work out. That's kind of like a 6th grade math type problem. Y'all saw in your check-in, some of those were kind of like 6th grade math type problems, weren't they?